She's probably want to get to order. Executive session for
That's what my question was.
15.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel.
Second. We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session for 10 minutes for non-elected personnel.
Second. We have a motion and a second to go into executive session for 10 minutes for non-elected personnel. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
You drafted it, so I assume you have reasons for doing what you did. But my question was, I was looking at paragraph 5, the 20-year period. Did you have a particular reason for 20 years?
We based it off of the regular fire station agreement. I basically took that
Okay.
agreement and just kind of moved things around and deleted and added stuff into it.
Okay, and then the renewal for 20 years, I mean, some renew year to year afterwards. And I know some people have 99-year leases. I'm just asking questions. I'm not being critical or saying it's wrong. I'm just asking, is 20 years a magic number for something?
I don't know why the original agreement with the building out there was 20 years. I don't have any idea.
So, I mean, that's the only thing I would throw out to you all. Do you want to lock it in for longer? Do you want a year to year after 20 to give you some latitude? In other words, you can lock in for another 20. And I'm just,
I would say if the first 20 was good, the second 20 should be good. I don't like the
Again,
where they just drop
There's
into a
an error,
year-to-year
there's
deal.
an error there.
Okay, well, that's fine.
It's
I'm
period of 10, spelled T-E-N, and then parentheses 20.
Okay, try and correct that for you.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you guys. I'm
Who
just,
knows at 20 years what you're gonna be thinking? I'd probably go year to year, just to not tie somebody else into something that they don't wanna do. I mean,
Okay,
like you said,
We don't have
you don't
any
know where
idea
you're
what's
going
going
to
on
be.
in 20
Right.
that's fine with me. After 20 years to go year to year.
Yeah, and they can turn around in 20 years and sign another 20 if they want to.
So at the end of said time, each party shall have the option to renew the agreement on a yearly basis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yearly annual one. And then the next paragraph, 6, talks terminating on a year notice. You want to do a year notice, 30 days notice?
Okay, well, then you have to get it cleaned out with it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't really see that it's probably ever gonna go anywhere.
Okay.
That's fine by me, 20 years and then do a year to year after that, that's,
Okay.
And then at that point, if they wanted to say we'll do another 20, they could do that.
Yep.
Basically states that if there's no notice given, it just kind of keeps going. And I can see where the city, kind of protects the city, if they're putting any money into it for the first 20 years. But I mean, after 20 years, if you just don't do anything, it just keeps continuing.
right.
Kind of like a square was.
So unless the city at 20 years is wanting to put up a building or something like that, that they want more protection for. And I can see if you're going to spend some money on it.
That's what the corrected wording, give me this so we don't get
Another thought, just thinking, you want to put something in there, I mean, it's the storage containers. Are these things going to be attached to the ground, or they're going to be like Connex boxes that the county can pick up at the end of 20 years and haul off.
Yeah, well, they won't be permanently attached. I mean, we'll anchor them to the ground but they'll be bolted or welded together as well.
Yeah, you go like trailer houses type
So do you-
footing deal.
Do you want to put anything in there that says at termination that the county can pick up their storage containers?
I'd hate to put too much stipulation on there as far as if they want to try to build a structure out of 3 or 4 connexes together and weld them together and put like external stairs on them. I would hate to put too many stipulations if it has to be, to where the county can come even. It's not that much money, and I'm sure at that point, we could figure something out.
Right.
I wouldn't worry about that.
I don't know.
So do you have anything else you're wanting?
As far as parts for the 5-ton trucks, I got a quote here from Kansas Forestry Service. The trucking staffer needs, I think, 4 brake pots for it. They are military stuff only, it's the only place we can really get them. We'd like to have, actually buy 8 of them, because there's 2 different types for each truck, for the park brake system and the actual working brake system. And then batteries. We had 2 batteries, I'd like to buy 6, so we have 4 on hand. The total for everything is $1,844.80. That would be for 8 brake chambers and 6 batteries. Basically, the other stuff, Ben's how we have 5 of them trucks, would just be parts on hand because it is a common failure part. We'd have them on hand if we needed them, not have to wait or make a trip to Manhattan to get them.
Batteries are just spares, I mean, you don't need them, right?
We need 2.
You need to.
We need 2 of the 6, the other 4 would be on hand. The batteries run 78-38 apiece. One of the brake chambers is 178-88, and the other is 164-75 each. And there's the quote that I got for everything.
Are those basically the same, I mean, I know they semi-air brakes that bolt up onto them, but I mean, are they basically the same style of pots?
Well, it's the same concept, they're just different style.
And this is from the Forestry Service, Marshall?
So you have your spring-loaded pots, and then you just have your pots that are just actually.
Right.
air actuators.
If it is, I could take 4.
Yeah, go ahead and get a truckload of batteries for you.
Well, yeah, the thing is,
Distribute them to the commissioner.
we had one truck in the St. John station and it's got gel cell batteries in it. It cost us $1,000 to replace it for. It was one of the deals, the truck wouldn't start, we couldn't give take charge. And so we just went over and got 4 new ones and put them in. If we'd had 4 on hand, it would have been less than $400 to replace them. So I think it's smart to have 4 of them sitting here if we need them.
You know, in Devon, somebody should have just ran them to Manhattan and picked them up if they had them on hand right then. Because I mean, that would have saved us quite a bit of money, $500-600.
I would move that we allow Marshall to purchase the parts, brake chambers and batteries from Kansas Forest Service for $1,844.80.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to allow Marshall to purchase parts and batteries from Kansas Forest Service for $1,844.80. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Did we do this today?
I would think we should.
Should?
You want us to go ahead and pass that?
Yeah.
You're fairly confident that the city's going to?
Yeah.
Today's date?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got it.
I would move that we approve the training facility cooperative agreement between the city and county.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the training facility agreement with the city of St. John. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Go ahead and sign them.
I will after the city signs it. Is it January?
If you wanna get, I can get it to her. It doesn't
Whatever you
matter.
wanna do.
I'll get it to her. That way they can get a copy and I think that's all I have for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have fun on your trip.
Yeah, right there.
We're only
Is your
running-
arm supposed to be down like that, young lady?
Yeah, I have to,
Huh?
I'm getting periodically,
Let the circulation. Okay, we just don't want any issues here. What?
You're blasting my time.
oh. Kansas Department of Ag contacted me a couple weeks ago, and they are, I'm sure it's probably partially reflective of new people in staff positions and so forth, but they're going through and doing research regarding counties that block corporate dairy and swine development. So we've kind of been through this before. You know, they wanted to make sure that it was in effect, and, you know, it is. So for what it's worth, you know, it's one of those things I've said a few times too, since we've got the last look at this, to just kind of remember where it stands. So in 1994, the commission passed a resolution specifically allowing hog and dairy farming within Stafford County, corporate hog and dairy farming within Stafford County. That was in 1994. And then in 1996, even in the interim, in 95, is when Seaboard would have kind of been gearing up. So there was some specific discussions about the possibility of pork production facilities near the Stafford-Martin County line in 1995. And then we had people approaching the commission in favor of it. The commission did what they called a straw poll. Sounds like it was unofficial straw poll, but at the time, there were more people opposed to swine production in Stafford County than in favor.
When did they do
That
that?
was in 1996. So in 96, the commission, including Russell Walker, Lauren Childs, who was the third one?
JD.
Clay Grumps.
JD, yeah.
They rescinded the previous resolution allowing corporate swine, which is kind of curious to me. Where's the? Why do you have to specifically allow it in Kansas? Actually, is part of my legal question. Unless it's specifically banned, wouldn't the default be that business can develop?
Well,
Or did
they-
they fall
Is there
under
a-
home rule powers too.
Yeah, but who banned it initially?
Unless there is a state law that
I don't know.
There might be, okay, so I'm.
State statute.
I don't know.
There might have been a state statute passed around that era. Okay, so anyway, that's where we stand. We have rescinded the resolution. So they're kind of asking, we've kind of had this kind of discussion before. Has the context changed? Is this worth reconsidering? You know, almost, I guess it's only 20 years, 25 years later. She'd been kind of pointing out a lot of people that were part of that at the time have passed on, you know, have things changed? So I had a conversation with them yesterday, and they are looking, they knew that over the course of time, Kansas Department of Ag participated in dairy shows in California, for example, because there's dairies out there that are looking for relocation opportunities. And there are some in western Kansas that turns out now there's one that's looking from New Mexico, and they specifically brought him through this part of the state. He'll be back again in a couple of weeks. So they're in transparency telling him that this one's, currently the restriction is in place, but it sounds like this kind of maybe 5-6 county region is something that otherwise would fit their what they're looking for. So we have the opportunity. I'm just gonna meet him. I would invite one or more of you to participate in that meeting if you like. I don't have a date yet, but I expect it to be toward the end of March. That they've told me it's someone that's looking to have an operation with about 30 employees. They have 2 boys that are currently at Cornell University looking to come back. They've got some younger kids they want to locate that's somewhere that's within 10 to 15 miles of the school where the kids will go. They phase it in over time to include heifer development.
This is a dairy.
The dairy, there is DFA dairy delivery to the panhandle of Texas. So,
I wouldn't mind us start looking, put out feelers to allow the dairy and pig confinement in Stafford County. We do have zoning in place now as far as if you put an olive floor, it's gotta be so many miles from somebody's house. So I do feel like neighbors are protected, and if you're gonna put in a facility, like Chris Kingston, when he put in his cattle operation, he had to send letters out if any one of those people would have complained. And so people, it's not like they're gonna move it across the street from you, but the majority of the tax, or the majority of the property taxes comes into the county is either from agriculture or oil. If we could get a dairy in here, or a swine operation in here, it uses our grain as another source of cheap fertilizer and brings more property taxes into our county and jobs. So I don't know how, I don't want to just bring it up one day and vote on it. Do we need to start putting in the minutes of our meetings that we're discussing it? And so that if somebody comes in, they can say, well, I didn't know this was going on. What is the process of this?
Yeah, it'd be
you
good.
can maybe talk with Farm Bureau or something like that too, about doing some kind of listening type meetings or something like that. If that's,
If we talk to him, he's really interested, if I could give them a public meeting.
well, and here's
just
the
let him
thing,
talk to them.
we can all think it's a great idea, but if there's not a landowner that's willing to sell land, it's a dead deal the other way, So it's not like we can just decide this. So, they're wanting around a section's worth of land. They don't need that much, they told me, specifically for the dairy, but they would like to have that for the benefit of buffer around the dairy and so forth. So, I've told them just my kind of personal assessment of it is that if we're to locate in Stafford County, the best area would probably be up in the sewer grading area because it's got the most separation from Rivera and the higher water table. But I think this, what I know of it, is the soils would be better for lagoons and so forth in that part of the county than it would be in others. But
As long as it's selling cheap fertilizer. It's hard to believe, but I think I'm 4 miles from Goldenville, 4 or 5 miles. And if I get an east wind, you smell it just like this. But it smells like money to me. But they may have a better, it's gonna be hard for them to come into a family farm and buy ground like that. But up in our area, a lot of the majority of the landowners that bought ground in the last 10 years is ILS and Carmen Schmidt. And from what I've heard, anything ILS has is for sale if you would offer them enough money. And Carmen Schmidt's an old guy that just buys them, so I would say they would have a better possibility of buying ground up there than anywhere because they have no emotional attachment to it.
so,
Yeah, I think so. Something to explore.
I'm sorry.
Sounds like something we ought to explore. encouraged to come in here and talk.
Mhm.
But I do think you need to treat the public
Yeah.
carefully in the fact that if they meet with us and we're interested, that you gotta be willing to talk to, have a public meeting to answer any questions.
But do we need to make sure that in the minutes of a meeting that we're discussing
Oh, I
this, where
think
people
so.
that are reading
That'd be
minutes
fine.
can start
Yeah.
coming in and
That'd be fine.
Because that one operation, is Cimarron still in operation, north of Cimarron? There's one at
Test me on
either
some of this.
Ulysses or
Yeah.
Hugoton.
Right.
And there's one up by Scott City,
Right.
because I see now trucks coming up and down 50,
Well-
particularly in the evening.
It came up in the conversation that
More than
the
two.
processing plant,
Or
isn't there a
no trucks.
processing plant at Garden City?
Yes.
And it's full, so they
Yeah.
can't currently deliver to Garden City, even though that might sound logical. They're gonna have to go on to the panhandle of Texas until we develop more dairy processing capacity in Kansas.
how many acres does that take?
I don't know.
We've got 160 acres of
Hey,
Now that might
if
not
we
be
had
good.
if we had transportation, it might move it to where
As
the
far
consumers
as
are.
processing milk, is that what you were talking about?
Mm-hmm. Maybe the cheese or whatever.
That shouldn't be.
Or I don't know, maybe it's fluid milk. I think the one in Garden is cheese.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Quote me on that.
Did Seaboard actually ever, has that changed? I mean,
Well, they didn't
They didn't do
locate.
anything,
No,
yeah.
they were talking about putting a process,
and they
or
just gave
processing
up on
plant
it.
in Great Bend, and then they
They
did.
just never, nothing ever came of that, or didn't change to anything else, or.
No, I mean, I think basically everybody rejected them in the area. I think Great Bend
Tell
rejected
you
them
what,
from a.
people down in Guyman are glad they came to Guyman. So I've always told them when I first went down there, purposely went downtown, and there were storefronts vacant. And I think I called in that area for 3 or 4 years, and when I left, I went downtown again, and there was one vacant store front in that town. Of course, you get outside of town and get driving by those lagoons when it's 110 degrees, you held your breath and drove real fast.
Yep.
So,
But they did
you know,
bring economy to that area. And it was,
And I do think that in the last 10 years, they've come a long ways to, as far as helping with the smell out of the lagoons and different chemicals and aeration and stuff like that. I mean, I never smell it when I go by you guys' facility out there.
yeah, they're experimenting with different microbial treatments too, that basically are a natural, I don't know, biodegrade the stuff naturally within the lagoons. There's less of it to compost. So, I don't know, like you said, I think there's progress in how they're managed.
we'll definitely keep an open mind to it.
So I guess I've agreed to meeting with them when I know more about what that schedule is. I guess I'll let you know if you'd like to participate. We'll at least learn more.
I'd like to meet you.
Yeah, would you?
Okay.
In the minutes, I put it was a consensus of the board to explore the possibility of lifting the ban on dairy and swine development. No more than that in there?
That'll get,
Well, I mean, you need it.
yeah.
And I put zoning regulations are now in place, which were not there 20 plus years ago. So, okay.
And probably more regulations.
And we probably ought to bring Carl in, try to get him to come in, or week after that, to have him kind of look into it and see if zoning is in place that we need.
Addresses that or not, do you?
I think it
I
does.
think it does.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Going home or to the office?
I'm gonna go to the office.
Can't keep her down. Okay, we've got minutes, we've
Got
got
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes of February 27th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the 22nd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And we've got,
There are a couple of tax roll corrections.
There's a couple this time.
Yeah.
I think it's oil in it.
Yes.
Losing
Yeah.
money or?
$20 here, $20 there.
And that gain or loss?
Well, the first one is a loss. Somebody in Virginia. I'll make a motion, we accept the tax roll corrections.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the tax roll corrections. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And here's a copy of the letter that Mike sent to the school regarding the school buses.
Short and sweet.
Just want you guys to know it was sent.
Very
Looks
good.
good.
Sign these.
Oh, sorry.
Initial.
And we were looking through the job descriptions, and I realized we didn't have one for the registered nurse position, which is Dawn out there. We have one for the health director, and we had one, it used to be for an LPN, which is what we had before we hired another RN. So Shannon and I came up with that job description for the registered nurse position. I need it approved so I can put it officially in my book.
Initial. Where did she get the pattern for this from?
We took the LPN one and Shannon changed some things in it. Basically, the duties mirrored the LPN. We just
Looks like she's got all the bases covered.
added a few things, took a few out. Just, we tweaked it a little bit, but I did not realize we didn't have one.
Do we have to approve these? Just like this?
There's nothing in here about twisting Todd's arm to get
Well,
vaccinated.
that's-
I am on the list.
that's just implied.
It's,
I've told her when my time comes up, she's gotta hide behind the door, and when I walk in, stab me back with it.
I did in the army. You said she had injections.
There you
like
go,
walk through.
like the cattle injection.
Yeah. I don't know why getting shots pretty expensive.
I think I know the reason why.
Why is that?
It was when Ren was a nurse, when she was training for nursing, she
Were
used
you
you
a
as
test
a,
dummy?
No,
as a
I've
pinfish.
never liked neck shots. It's just the thought of that needle going in. I can't even watch a shot on TV.
I can't either, I'm that way too. I'm real squeamish.
Summer told me that one time. I know you're squeamish about shots. And I said,
So
I
we
need
need to make a
know.
motion to adopt the job descriptions of,
No, not really. I just want to make sure you guys
Yeah.
are aware that we did it.
that's fine.
Looks good to me.
You take it.
So is the hospital coming today or?
I haven't heard that they're not, so I guess they are.
Just on the recess.
I do have something I was going to talk about a little bit. With the RIC commission, where they were, they are a taxing entity, but the money went through through the school where they text that, I mean, is what the rec commission gets, I think they're getting 2 or 3 meals now, it really doesn't matter. But is that just a set fee, or can they raise and lower it as they want?
They when they establish their rec commissions, they usually have a cap on their meals. Like I think Maxwell's is 1 meal, St. John's is 3.
I thought stuff
They
was
raised
to 4.
I think they raised theirs to 4.
They were pretty high.
So like if St. John decided to raise their mill or
It would have to go
something?
to a vote.
Okay, so the commissioners can't just say,
No,
it's
you
gotta go
have
to a
no
vote.
control of that.
Okay.
No, but it would go to a vote of
Same way as
the
the
folks
school.
in the rec district.
So, since they do get taxing money, the schools and like the rec commissions, can the counties say we want to see an audit? Whose responsibility was it to make sure that they were getting audits done? Or was it anybody?
It's not you, I mean, they're an outside entity. You guys, they do their own budgeting, I mean,
It's really the board, their board.
yeah.
So it's their board. The
I mean-
school can't even force them, because the
Well,
money goes
see,
through.
there was
the
a
school.
statute in place that said if you didn't get over 150,000 in tax dollars, you didn't have to be audited. Now that statute has changed to like 500,000?
350,000 or something. Yeah, it's more than double.
They've raised it.
Yeah.
So technically, if,
They're not required.
Your rec commission. like, I don't think Maxwell's rec commission gets,
Probably, no.
so they probably don't have to be audited by statute.
Yeah,
Now, if it was me sitting on a board and it was tax dollars, yes, it would be audited.
but if you were sitting on this, in the Maxwell School Board, you couldn't tell the rec commission
Yeah,
because
you
they're
could.
their own entity?
Well, see, it's an entity inside of the school, so I would think the school could have said, we want to see the audit.
I think the city did it also. That's what I didn't understand. Their bylaws, they stated that
Is the city of Maxwell
the school appointed 2
board members?
board members. The city of St. John appointed 2 board members. And then the board members between themselves did 1 at large to add to them, so.
I would think anybody that was appointing people on the board could require an audit.
I think so.
So is there any way that we can look down the road or discuss the township boards, townships?
Being audited?
Yeah. And I mean, I'm afraid half your treasurer's gonna quit,
They're their own entities.
so we really can't have to say so.
I don't think you want to go there.
Yeah.
I mean, we get their annual reports. As a citizen of Douglas Township, you're certainly welcome to go to the board meetings, ask to look at the financials whenever you want to.
Yeah.
But again, since they're not statutorily obligated to audit, you can't force them to.
Okay. That answers my question. So now when people jump in,
You're in control.
Yeah.
Is basically what you would say.
and unless their budget is over $300,000, it's not mandated by the
I think it
state.
might even be more than
I need
that.
to look at that. They've changed that statute.
Did they? Yeah, I was told that
It
by
was
the
150,
accountants.
But they
We'll go
raised
to recess.
it to something. I'm not sure what that is.
That's what I brought. Yeah, you said.
Apologize. This was a me. I wasn't sure I was gonna make it. I had to do a PR run with my son today. So, yeah, he's never been to the ER before, but he woke up and he was saying he couldn't breathe and he was having stridor and everything and pretty bad. I'd say in the ER, probably would have admitted it was in, of course, second out there. I wasn't doing that anymore, so I just,
Oh, your son?
he's 11. So, it's not a crew, but they, a little old for that.
Oh, that's a massive jump.
Yeah, exactly. Good.
Okay. So, I figured that we would first talk about December's numbers. I figured that probably was where you want to know where 18 ended up. And then I also brought January, so then we kind of briefly kind of go through for the month of January and all this stuff too. So, I'll start with like the stats so we can kind of see that first. I wrote in on the column for the month of December for 2017, so you can compare the month of December to the month from 17 to the month of December in 18, and then in the far right hand I did year to date, so we can kind of look at where we were at year to date in 2017 compared to year to date in 2018. Our acute census days for 2018 was at 110 days. In 2017 we were at 106 days. So we had a 4% increase there year over year. Our skilled swing census days, we were at 1,006 for 2018. At 17, we were at 796. So we had about a 26% increase there. So the swing program grew a bit year over year there. Our
On
skilled,
the skilled swing census days,
Mhm.
I mean, I'm sure you guys are working for some kind of a goal. What would you like that? I mean, easy to say, you just like to keep it growing, but where would you like to see that
Yeah, with
number
the
at?
size of a community, I mean, if we're mostly looking at patients from inside this community, we like to keep it somewhere between 3 and 5 for a skilled swing program. If we're getting above that, then we're successfully getting patients from outside the community. What we've seen is a little bit of a mix. We've seen probably 2/3 of our, would you all say about 2/3 of our patients or 3/4 maybe are from this area. And we're also getting a couple referrals from outside hospitals. Actually, when I leave here, I'm going to go back to Wichita and thank someone for sending a patient back this way. But if we're really doing a great job, I think we'll have 8 to 10. But that's not all going to be from this area. There's Wichita referrals, maybe some private referrals from outside this area, things like that.
You guys are continuing to kind of culture those relationships beginning here.
Yes.
Our skilled intermediate census days, we are at 103 in 2017, and we grew up to 682 in 2018, so we had about a 500% growth there. Our PT, our treatments and evaluations, went from 3,002 in 2017 to 3,978 in 18. So that grew about 33% there. Our occupational therapy was at 231 in 2017, and we ended the year with 342. So about a 48% increase in that area. On radiology, our total radiology was at 1,399 in 2017. It was pretty consistent. We had a 2% decrease, and we ended with 1,373. Our laboratory, the total testing, we were at 30,172 in 17, and we ended with 32,511, so an 8% growth there. Our emergency department patients, we were at 627 in 17, and we ended with 546. So about a 13% decrease there. And it
Is
was-
that just people that are coming into the emergency room?
I
Yeah.
think that's part of it.
Yeah, that one's not as, well, we did open it, yeah, the FQHC did open a clinic, so we haven't done an analysis on this to see the severity of the case mix index, whether that increase or decrease in the ER, but we presume maybe some of that's from from some of the patients being seen in the clinic. They're currently seeing 10 to 15 patients a week right now. When you see that our acute care actually didn't change much at all, but our ER went down, that kind of supports it as well, that maybe that decrease was from some of the non-emergent patients getting care in the clinic, because the more severe patients are going to be more likely to get admitted. So if the admissions don't change much, then the same severity is probably going to be.
Health visits, we were at 605 in 17, and we were down to 436 in 18, so about a 28% decrease there. And that's mostly, we kind of went in on the home health and how we see those patients and the issues and the right one. We expected that decrease there. Any other questions on that? Okay. So then I'll move to the balance sheet. So at 12/31/2018, our total current assets were at $2,800,000. Last year, we ended the year at $2,073,000. So we had a $726,000 increase there. And you'll see that a lot of that is in the first line, which is cash. Our cash increased about $1.3 million, and most of that is we received about $924,000 and another $499,000 in June 2018, which was for our 2017 cost report money, and then they kind of looked at 2018 and kind of said, okay, this is how much we have used so far in 2018. So that was about $1.4 million, and just with our stats and everything, we were able to maintain that money in the bank, and we've been able to live kind of make it on just purchases that are coming in every month. So we're able to do most of that. So that's probably most of it. A lot of that money, though, right now we have put back because we don't know yet how 2015's cost report's gonna. So we put about $1 million back just as a reserve in case we're hoping that we don't need that, but just anticipate in case we have to pay it back. That increase was kind of offset from the estimated third-party receivables that decreased $923,000. And that was because in the balances for 12/31/2017, that was what our receivable was on that cost report, and we have not booked that yet, so that's why you're seeing that difference. So about April, we'll have the cost report numbers for 2018, and at that point, we'll come back in and book the receivable or the payable, wherever we end up at. Our net property, plant, and equipment came in at $679,000 for 2018. We were at $573,000 in the prior year, so we had a $106,000 increase there. And you'll kind of see that our total fixed assets went up $208,000. And with the increase in cash and the cash receipts, we were actually able to invest in some new assets this year, so that's why you're seeing that. And so some of the things that we did during the year, we repaired the roof on the home health building. We purchased an OmniCell. We purchased an iStack machine. We had to repair or fix the chiller in the building. We purchased a van to transport patients, and we also purchased a hematology panel. So that's kind of what we were able to invest in, which is positive. Bringing our total assets to $3,480,000, and last year we were at $2,646,000. I'll move over to the next one. Our total current liabilities for 2018 came in at $5,985,000. Last year we were at $3,739,000. So we had a $2,245,000 increase there. Most of that is sitting up in accounts payable. We have a $2,339,000 increase there. And at 12/31/2018, our accounts payable balance is at $5,914,000. And when we break that down, the amount that is owed to CPC Stafford is $5,771,000. And
Say that number again.
$5,771,000. And the remaining is $143,000. And that's kind of a non-CPC. And on the aging, you'll see that we're pretty current with all the APs. So that's just kind of that we've been noticing over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 months or whatever, that we're staying really current. It fluctuates a little bit just on timing, but most of it, we've been current on all of our other non-CPC Our total long-term liabilities are $2,063,000, and last year we were at $1,977,000, which is an $86,000 increase, and most of that is up in the long-term portion of the capital leases. And so on 2 of those fixed assets that I had gone over on the other page, we actually took out capital leases on those, and that was on the Omnicell and on the college and Airlines. So that's why you're seeing that debt grow.
On the long-term, that's $1,364,000. What is that?
So that's going to be our, like the capers liability that we've gone over before. So the reason why you're not seeing a change right now is when the auditors come in, they'll get an actuarial report on the capers plan. And then at that time during the audit, they will adjust it based on what the actuarial report says. Okay, any questions on that? On the next page, kind of on the left-hand side, kind of tells you for the current month of December, how the numbers came out, and then on the right side is kind of year-to-date. So I'll cover more the year-to-date during the end of the year. Our total patient service revenue for 2018 came in at $3,629,000. Last year, we ended the year at $2,955,000. So we had a $673,000 increase in our gross patient revenue, which is kind of supports the stats that I had gone over on this page. Our total deductions were at $2,995,000. Last year we were at $2,437,000, bringing our net patient service revenue for 2018 to $6,625,000, and last year we were at $5,392,000. So $1.2 million increase in our net patient revenue year over year. On the next page, the first 3 lines is our other operating revenue. And for 2018, that came in at $521,000. And last year we were at $497,000. So we had a $23,000 increase there. And down a little bit, you'll see our total operating expenses at 12/31/2018 came in at $8,651,000, and last year at $7,733,000. So a $918,000 increase year over year. And a lot of that is just in like salary and wages, employee benefits, contract services, and purchase services. So almost like our labor costs is where we're seeing that increase. And if you added up all those, there was a $741,000 increase in those areas. And there's several reasons for that. One of the ones is increase in revenue, increase in patients. You need more staff to be able to handle those patients. And so that's a lot of it. And then also for a partial year in 2017, the employees were on the hospital side, and now we've moved them over to be able to go in 17 to CDC. So that increased the cost just a little bit, comparing salary. Our non-operating revenue, revenue was at 6,000, and in 2017, we're at 25,000. Bring our total net loss for 2018 to 1,498,000. And last year, we were at 1,817,000. So we're about $319,000 better than we were last year. But of course, the cost report has not, that estimate has not been put in. So if there was a payable, that would take up some of that portion. But if there's a receivable, then that'd be better. I did I start on the taxes? I started on yours, but those areas where that we were kind of monitoring, which was like supplies, rent expense, telephone and utilities, maintenance, and minor equipment. You add those all up, that ended up at $698,000. So we were above that. Any questions on that? That was for December, then I'll kind of quickly go show you guys January so you can see. This one's due, and then here's your this one below your Okay, so we'll kind of look at the stats. On this one, I kind of did one page, and you can see kind of the very first column is going to show you January 2018, so we can kind of compare it to the third column, which is January 2019. And then if we're looking at the prior month of December, kind of where the change was month over month. So on the first one, the acute census days. So in January, we had 4, which is consistent with where we were last month in December. But it's down about 3 from where we were in January of 2018 last year. On the skilled swing census days, we ended the month of January with 60 census days. That is up about 82% from where we were last month, but down about 30% from where we were in January 2018. The skilled intermediate census days, we ended January with 62, which is about 26% down from where we were last month, but up from 80%, but we're at about 55 from where we were in January 2018. Physical therapy treatments, we ended up with 275, which is about 35% better than where we were last month, but then down about 4% from January 2018. Occupational therapies, we ended up with 27, which is up about 93% from where we were in last month in December, but down about 18% from where we were in January 2018. Speech therapy treatments, we ended with 7, which is last month we didn't have any, but that's down about 67% from where we were in January 2018. Respiratory treatments, we ended with 16, which is about 53% less than we were last month, and 80% less than January 2018. Total radiology, we ended up with 103, which was a little bit down from last month, and pretty consistent with where we were last January. Laboratory testing, we had 2,793,000, which is up about 34% from last month and up about 4% from where we were in January 2018. Emergency patients, we had 31, which was about 34% down from last month and 49% down from where we were in January 2018. And then our home health visits, we had 53, which is about 29% higher than where we were in last month and 8% higher than we were in January of 2018. So I think that we stayed pretty kind of increased from last month where we were, but down in several of the areas compared to January 2018. But February was, our stats were up, and currently our stats in March, we have 7 patients in right now, and one of those is acute. We have 4 skilled swing bed and 2 intermediate swing patients in right now. So I think that March will end up being picking back up again.
What's the definition of difference between intermediate and swing census? I know intermediates are.
So technically, all the beds are swing from status to status. So there's within a swing bed, meaning you don't have to go to a different area of the hospital to change status. You go from observation, you can be acute care, skilled care, or intermediate care. The difference between skilled care, you understand that, and intermediate care is more long-term care. A lot of states don't even know that exists, but it's a federal, we didn't even know it existed until we came to Kansas because Great Plains Health Alliance hospitals tend to use this a lot. But it's basically a long-term care. So we're not really looking to increase those numbers too much because we don't want people to live in nursing homes. But there's a couple patients that expressed that they preferred to stay at our facility, and so they requested that. We talked to them, maybe go to a nursing home, they didn't really want to go to our hospital, so we turned them away. And so that's why they're there. Basically, they either pay private, or some people might have a long-term care insurance. We don't have any of those, or Medicaid will pay for long-term care, and so we just charge them the wage. The effect on that, it's not really much of a profit for the hospital because at the end of the year when the government does the cost reports, they'll go back and dock us the Medicaid rate for those beds. So if we're charging the Medicaid rate, we collect the Medicaid rate, and CMS takes that Medicaid rate back from us. It's a wash. If we have to do labs or PPE or something like that, we're not just.
All right, if you don't have any more questions on that, then I'll move on to the balance sheet. So for January of 2019, our total current assets were at $3,217,000. In January of 18, we were at $2,530,000, so we have a $686,000 increase there, which a lot of these explanations are pretty similar to the same explanations that we had in the December one. So we've seen most of that sitting in the cash area, so we still, cash was up from last year. And then that estimated third-party receivable is still something, and then 23 is still there since we haven't reported that in 2019. Our net property, plant, and equipment came in at $670,000. And in January of 18, we were at $565,000, so $104,000 increase there. And so you'll see that same $208,000 increase, which are the same explanation as the other one, just the additional equipment that we purchased in 2018. Bringing our total assets for 2019 at $3,887,000. On the next page, you'll see that our total current liabilities at January 31st, 2019 is at $6,610,000. And we were at $4,311,000 last year, so $2,298,000 increase there. And when we break down that accounts payable number, at January 31st, 2019, our accounts payable was at $6,102,000. And $5,973,000 was what's due to CBC staff. And the remaining is $129,000 that's non-other non-CBC staff. Our long-term liabilities came in at $2,044,000 compared to $1,962,000 prior year. Creating an $81,000 difference, and this is the same thing, you've seen $135,000 on our long-term capital leases for those new capital leases that we took out in 2013. That we have yet. Or in, it wasn't in January, but we don't see it show there yet. On the next page, you'll see that our total patient service revenue for January came in at $404,000. Last January, we were at $305,000, so we had a $99,000 increase there. So like our stats were down a lot when I kind of went from January to January, but on the patients that we have, that our acuity was a lot higher on those patients. So actually, we're able to see higher total patient revenue on the patients that we did see, even though the stats were down. After taking into account the total deductions, our net patient service revenue for the month came in at $409,000 compared to $476,000 in the year before, creating a $66,000 decrease. And that decrease is just kind of in those contractuals. We had one large write-off that we had to write off that kind of affected those contractuals. On the next page, you'll see that our other operating revenue came in at $43,000. We were at $41,000 last January, so $2,000 increase there. Our total operating expenses came in at $672,000. Last year we were at $627,000, so we had a $45,000 increase in the total expenses year over year there. Bringing for the month our total net loss of $218,000 for 2019, and we were at $180,000 loss in 2019. I think I starred those areas too. I don't know if you want to continue and be interested in kind of where those are at, but if you added up those different categories, for the month of January, we're at $67,245. Any questions on that?
On your contracted services, is that just on the leases? Why did that look like it jumped up about 100,000?
Yeah, so that one is just going to be right now. When I look back at it, so these December numbers, we're still doing a few tweaking for the auditors. So like I'm actually in this week doing some tweaking, and that's really a timing of when the payroll hit, or kind of when our contracted invoices hit, and there's another invoice that needs to be moved out of January and back into December. So that's just kind of the timing of when those hit. So I'm going to back out like a certain one of the invoices and move it back into the right year. So I've done that, but that's not reflected in the so yeah, that is all our contractors at the hospital. And then the purchase services is mostly of that is a management fee. So you'll see that it went down because mid-year in 2018 we would do start recovery evaluating our service lines and we're due start management fee down. So we're expecting at least for the first 6 months that you'll see a decrease in that area. We do have auditors that are coming in 2 weeks. On the 15th, is that the 18th? The 18th, they're coming, they'll be out all week doing the audit, and then shortly after that, they'll start the cost report and stuff. So we should have members by April. And then, of course, it'll be June before we'll issue those audit numbers, just to get it for that part, and before and the cost report stuff we can get those final numbers.
We did have a hospital survey, a routine survey. They were running behind, so Kansas, understaffed, so they got some contractors from out of state. They had some findings, but there were no immediate jeopardy issues or other concerns like that. They wanted us to work on, which is relatively new, our emergency preparedness plan, which is something we'll have to put into the county and, mass disasters and things like that. How is the hospital equipped to handle those, and how is the relationship between the hospital and the other county emergency services and coordinating for emergency preparedness. So that's kind of the main thing that we are needing to create. We didn't have a formal policy, but more some guidelines on how to approach it. We've got some formal. Just kind of recapping. So this first time we've been talking about year-end. Things we like, things we don't like the patient growth that we're seeing. It's not off the charts, but we're, over the, since we've been here in 2016, we've steadily seen most areas of the hospital grow. And we like that. We want to see that trend continue as feasible. We're seeing a wider range of patient acuity. So there's some patients that we weren't seeing before that we are seeing now. And that as long as we keep seeing more acute patients, the staff is more comfortable seeing those type of patients, and we're more likely to get those patients as transfers in from outside communities, and we're less likely to need to transfer patients out that come into our emergency department with those type of illnesses. So right now we're taking good care of those patients, and we want to continue that and grow on that. Although we didn't start the clinic, we're having to kind of partner with the NQHC in starting that clinic. The hospital is leasing that space to them, and also letting other providers do there at a real great deal for the FQHC that allows them to start up, so that gets some more options in keeping the patients here in the county. I love our increase in the days cash on hand. When we came on, it was a few tens of thousands of dollars. Something, like a half day cash on hand, and now we're in a really good position. Even if we had $1 million hit on our cost report that we had to pay back, we've still got enough cash on hand left over to keep us in a good position at the hospital. So, I think we talked before, these hospitals, they get in a tough position, they don't have cash on hand, their census drops off a little bit like you guys did. We came on initially, we get 8 weeks of no patients, and that can shut a hospital down really quick. The non-cash assets, I like that. Usually when almost every time we look at a hospital, you just see they built the hospital this year, and every year after that, it just appreciates, and they don't put anything back into it. So I like to see that we're reversing that trend and keeping up with the property and the equipment. I like that. The biggest issue we have right now is the growing AP. That's what we don't like. We can't grow that AP, whether it's for us or anybody else perpetually. At some point, we have to start writing that off. There's ramifications to write that off, so we're trying to equilibrate that and hopefully over time start reversing that trend. One of the things we've been talking about with the board and something probably important on this month is we're starting to move the providers over to the hospital's employment and those that are contracted with our company. We're going to move that contract over to the hospital. We've already started that process with Vigilius or Restate, which is a telemedicine company. We're going to start that for all of our providers as well. That will save probably in excess of $600,000 a year of billing. So, for instance, if we had done that last year, we would see the financial reports would be $600,000 better than they currently are. So that's one area that we're looking to try to reduce some of our costs and get those people back over to the hospital. Another thing we want to do is there's currently we have probably 5 or 6 staff positions at the hospital, and no one that lives in town that's staff at the hospital, so we're looking to recruit a physician. We were successful oddly enough, Hamilton, but Wichita should be a little easier closer to the, or here, we should be a little easier closer to Wichita, but we haven't got a position yet. We do have interest in 3 to 5 different candidates for PA and nurse practitioner positions, so we kind of do a hospital help out, help we out some too, so that's good. What did I say, no, one thing, there's been the topic of the Senate bill proposal, 380. We haven't got a position from the board yet, but we just kind of wanted to voice our position on that. Not that we have a voice in it, but we don't see any issue at all. In fact, we support that Senate bill. As we understand it, we listened to your testimony at the legislature, and I haven't read the bill, but as it was outlined by the folks at the legislature and yourself, I think getting more clarity to separate the business of the liability of the business of the hospital from the municipalities that own that land is important. I know where we come from in Oklahoma, that's very clear. Here it's not, and so we support that delineation. If it doesn't pass, I just wanted to kind of reassure you guys on what the liability is of the hospital. I think there's some misperceptions. When we came on, it was just over $200,000 of AP. That if a hospital closes, would the county possibly be responsible for that? If they are, then it would have been $200,000. Currently, it's what, 129. 100, yeah. So it's currently 129,000. Any of the amount that is from us is not subject to any exposure.
That's 118. Sorry, 118.
I said 380, it's 118, sorry, 118, my memory. Any other questions at all?
So you're thinking about getting another PA?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have other PAs, we have and physicians that come down. Of course, when you have someone that's not employed or contracted full-time with you, then the hospital ends up paying more, or we end up paying more, depending on, we charge the hospital the same thing, but it costs us more money. So when we move those contracts over to the hospital, it's costing them more money. Our goal is to reduce that, and when we can get someone to come in more long-term, we can get them at a lower rate than what we're currently paying for our PRN people. So we have some interest. We put an offer out there. We had quite a bit of interest in graduating PAs. One of them we're super interested in that has a history in the military and EMS services and graduating PA school. So we're talking to him and some others. Lee has a background in EMS, and that was very helpful here. And so we're looking for some others that have that leadership ability and experience. Because we don't have a lot of volume here, but we'll see everything. We'll see everything that a big hospital can have. We may not treat it definitively there. We may have to ship it out if it surgery or ICU, et cetera. But they'll come here too. It's just in lower volume. So whoever's here, let's keep them here.
I noticed that Dr. Mosier, who used to be out at Tribune, who did, I don't know how many years out there, then took a position at KDHE for 4 or 5 years. Then he went up to the Med Center as a dean of something. Well, now he's taking a job in Salina, and this is for rural physicians. He started up a new program, I guess.
To grants and whatnot to support.
Robert Mosier.
I know that Kansas does have some grant programs. They're not as, Oklahoma got so desperate that they were, for a 4-year commitment to a rural location, they were paying $160,000 of student loans off tax-free. So I know there's several different programs that are either national or Kansas-based that are available for that folks that live there. So hopefully get a little more. Because that real, boy, that'll get someone out to the rural community who say, hey, we'll pretty much pay out for student loans.
I do have a question for you. It's a really quick question. Like when you guys fly out, have somebody flown out of Stafford, is that usually Eagle Med out of Wichita?
They've changed their name. It used to be Eagle Med, but it's that was the one out of Hutch, because Life Team has, no, they have moved theirs from Hutch. I can't call it.
Yeah, I think
But
it's the same as,
Eagle Med was, but they've changed their name.
Yeah.
I'd have to check for sure.
I know the colors.
Yeah,
But I always forget.
But
which
the
one it
Life
is.
Team, they had a helicopter based at Hutch, and I think
Didn't
just
they
in,
pull that?
and they've just pulled that in the last month, so all of our copters will have to come out of Wichita.
So whether you fly to Hutch or Wichita, it's a different company? Or is it one?
No, it doesn't matter where you're sending them to. If they're going to go by helicopter, they'll go by, it's pretty much the same. It's whoever can get to us the soonest. So the closest base is where we're going to use them, regardless of where we send them from there.
So some people's insurance doesn't cover that.
Right.
And then they're talking about supplemental insurances, and supplementals only cover this or that. You know, because I mean, I think to fly from Great Bend to Wichita is like $42,000.
Well,
And then-
now
What's
most
the insurance it covers if you're gonna?
most of, and we should probably, Joe, if you want to communicate back with the commissioners, to spread, at least spread the word. All the companies I know of, they generally, when they kind of service an area, they'll have a really nominally priced, so like less than $100 a year for your whole family. And if you pay that, and if you have to utilize their services, then it's free. Well, not free, but they'll pick up all the deductibles. In fact, we've had issues where there's no reason to send someone by helicopter, and we've had to argue with the patient saying, hey, this is ambulance, and they say, no, it's it's free if we get the helicopter. And I've actually called some of the companies and said, hey, here's the situation where you go ahead and take the patient. Oh yeah, no problem. And so for like $60 or $80, they did a $20,000 fly for a patient. Yeah.
But there is an insurance that came, talk to the,
But the flight service itself offers
A lot of the flight services themselves offer it, and sometimes the flight services will get into a conglomerate or some more package deal that will cover several of the different flight services. I'm not sure if what you're talking about is that same one. But that's usually good. It will cost a little bit more, but then it covers all the different flight services. You know, what I haven't seen, I'm sure it exists out there, but it'd be really neat if we could see some sort of a similar thing with like county EMS services as well, where people say, hey, let's go ahead and pay into that. The county EMS service could continue to bill off insurance like normal and get paid from the insurance company, but if there's a subscriber to this plan, and I don't see any reason that couldn't be done. And that's so if people subscribe to each of these plans, altogether it should be less than $100 a year. So that's just something that kind of, and we'd be happy to help coordinate that with the county. Maybe start by looking at what the plans that are offered by the flight services look like, and then see if it's possible that we construct something like that for the county EMS services, and then you all could offer that to people too, and that would help the review.
Thank you. Hope your son does all right.
Oh, I think he's fine. I think he's fine. I felt a little stupid bringing him in.
You weren't on duty.
No, I worked Dodge City tonight, but I wasn't on duty yet. We just woke up. I was getting ready to come this way.
so do we need to find one for her spot? You have one
But I
for we
took
do
that
not
doctor
at
hat off.
this
So
time.
I'm just taking it to you. I'll be that
I was looking
parent.
for the, it's like,
See y'all.
so if you could shoot me the new one.
Okay,
And I can have them start, well, it'll be Todd, start looking for somebody.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
perfect, thanks.
You guys have anything else? No. We'll adjourn.